Hey everyone, Elizabeth here. The Last Laugh delivers stories that leave you speechless. If you're here for it, hit subscribe and let's go. My name is Sarah Chen, and I'm 29 years old. Until 3 weeks ago, I was a compliance analyst at Meridian Financial Services in downtown Chicago. I had what everyone called a boring job, reviewing transaction reports, flagging inconsistencies, making sure everything followed federal banking regulations. My coworkers joked that I was the person who made sure the numbers matched. Nothing glamorous. Nothing dangerous. I'd been at Meridian for 2 years. The pay was decent, the benefits were good, and my manager, Patricia Holbrook, was one of those rare bosses who actually seemed to care about her employees. She was in her late 50s, always professional, always calm. The kind of woman who wore tailored suits and knew everyone's birthday. That Tuesday started like any other. I arrived at 8:30 a.m. with my usual coffee from the shop downstairs. My cubicle was on the 7th floor, wedged between 2 other analysts who spent most of their time complaining about their workload. I logged into my computer and pulled up my assignment for the day, reviewing a batch of wire transfers from the previous quarter. The morning passed slowly. I flagged 3 transactions that seemed unusual, amounts just below the federal reporting threshold, all going to the same overseas account through different intermediary banks. Standard stuff. I documented everything in my report and submitted it to Patricia's queue like I always did. At 11:47 a.m., my desk phone rang. Patricia's extension. Sarah, can you come to my office for a moment? Sure, be right there. I grabbed my notepad and headed to her corner office. Patricia was standing by the window when I walked in, her back to me. She didn't turn around immediately. Close the door, she said quietly. I did, a small flutter of nervousness starting in my stomach. In 2 years, Patricia had never asked me to close the door. She turned around, and I noticed something I'd never seen before. Patricia looked scared. Her normally composed face was tight, her hands clasped together so hard her knuckles were white. Sarah, I need you to listen very carefully to what I'm about to say. She walked to her desk and pulled a small flash drive from her drawer. Take this. Go home right now. Don't log out of your computer, just leave. When you get home, plug this into your personal laptop. Read everything on it. I stared at the flash drive in her outstretched hand. Patricia, what's going on? After you read it, delete your social media accounts. All of them. Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, everything. Delete your digital footprint as much as you can. I laughed nervously. Is this some kind of security training exercise? She grabbed my arm, her fingers pressing into my sleeve with surprising strength. Sarah, I'm serious. You have hours, not days. Do exactly what I'm telling you. The fear in her eyes made my throat go dry. I took the flash drive with shaking fingers. Should I be scared? I whispered. But if you do what I say, you'll be okay. Don't tell anyone you're leaving. Take the stairs, not the elevator. Before we go further, make sure you subscribe to the channel and comment where you're watching from. I walked back to my cubicle in a daze. My heart was pounding so hard I could feel it in my throat. I grabbed my purse and coat, leaving my computer screen glowing with spreadsheets. Nobody looked up as I walked past. I took the stairs like Patricia said, my footsteps echoing in the concrete stairwell. The flash drive felt like it weighed 100 pounds in my coat pocket. I drove home on autopilot, my hands gripping the steering wheel too tight. I lived alone in a 1-bedroom apartment in Lincoln Park. It was a Tuesday afternoon. I should have been at work for another 5 hours. Instead, I was fumbling with my keys, rushing inside, pulling out my personal laptop before I'd even taken off my coat. My hands trembled as I plugged in the flash drive. There were 3 folders: wire transfers, personnel files, and read this first. I clicked on read this first. A document opened. No fancy formatting, just a wall of text that began, Sarah, if you're reading this, you flagged transactions that expose a money laundering network operating through Meridian Financial Services. The network is run by Senator Richard Caldwell and involves over $340 million in illegal funds from pharmaceutical kickbacks, defense contract fraud, and offshore tax evasion. You are now a liability. By submitting your compliance report this morning, you triggered an automated alert. They know who you are. My vision blurred. I had to read the sentence 3 times before the words made sense. Senator Richard Caldwell. I knew that name. Everyone in Chicago knew that name. He was running for re-election. His face was on billboards. He'd given a speech at our company's annual meeting last year. I kept reading. The personnel file contains information about your father, David Chen, who worked as an undercover federal agent from 1998 to 2003. He infiltrated financial crimes networks before his death in 2004. His work was classified. You were 12 years old when he died. You were told it was a car accident. It wasn't. My laptop screen swam in front of me. My father. I saw his face in my memory, smiling, pushing me on a swing, helping me with homework. He died when I was 12. A car accident on a rainy night. That's what my mother told me. That's what I'd believed for 17 years. Patricia Holbrook has been an FBI asset for 6 years. She recruited you to Meridian specifically because of your father's work. She has been protecting you while building a case against Caldwell. Your compliance report this morning provided the final piece of evidence needed for federal prosecution. But Caldwell's people move fast. You have approximately 6 to 8 hours before they locate you. I couldn't breathe. The room felt too small, too hot. I clicked on the personnel files folder with shaking hands. There were photos of my father in tactical gear, wearing an FBI badge. Documents with classified stamped across them. Reports written in his handwriting. And a photo of him with Patricia, both of them younger, standing outside a federal building. They knew each other. Patricia knew my father. A separate file was labeled David Chen, Final Report. I clicked it. It was the real story of how my father died. Not a car accident. He was murdered by associates of a financial criminal he was about to testify against. The case was buried. The investigation was classified. My mother was paid off to keep quiet, given a settlement and a non-disclosure agreement. She knew. My mother knew the whole time. I sat there staring at the screen, tears running down my face. Everything I thought I knew about my life was a lie. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number: delete your social media. Now. Then smash your phone. Someone will contact you at 6 p.m. Patricia. She was trying to protect me. I opened Facebook on my laptop and deleted my account. Then Instagram. Then LinkedIn. My hands moved mechanically while my brain screamed. Twitter. TikTok. Even my old MySpace account I hadn't touched in years. Delete, delete, delete. When I finished, I took my phone into the kitchen and smashed it with a hammer from my tool drawer. The screen shattered satisfyingly. I threw the pieces in the garbage. It was 2:17 p.m. Less than 4 hours until someone would contact me. I paced my apartment, reading through the files again and again. The wire transfers I flagged this morning weren't just unusual, they were part of a systematic laundering operation. Money from pharmaceutical companies paying bribes to Caldwell. Defense contractors hiding illegal payments. All of it flowing through Meridian, split into dozens of small transactions designed to avoid detection. Except I had detected it. And by submitting my report, I'd connected the final dots. The document explained that Patricia had been feeding information to the FBI for years, but they needed an outside analyst to flag the transactions independently. Someone whose report would hold up in court. Someone who couldn't be accused of fabricating evidence. Me. I was the evidence. At 3:45 p.m., I heard footsteps in the hallway outside my apartment. Heavy footsteps. Then voices, low, male, professional. I froze. My apartment door was locked, but suddenly that felt like nothing. A knock. Miss Chen? Building maintenance. We need to check your water heater. I didn't have a water heater, my building was all electric. I backed away from the door, my heart hammering. Miss Chen, please open the door. I looked around frantically. I was on the 3rd floor. The fire escape was outside my bedroom window. I ran to the bedroom, grabbed my laptop and purse, and struggled with the window latch. It hadn't been opened in months and fought me. The knocking got louder. More insistent. Miss Chen, we know you're home. The window finally gave way. I climbed out onto the fire escape, cold November air hitting my face. I could hear them kicking at my door now. The sound of wood splintering. I climbed down the metal ladder as fast as I could, my laptop bag banging against my side. When I reached the alley, I ran. I didn't know where I was going. I just ran. Behind me, I heard shouting. She's on the fire escape. I cut through alleyways, my breath coming in ragged gasps. It was getting dark. People were walking home from work, oblivious. I wanted to scream at them, but what would I say? I looked like a crazy woman running through Lincoln Park with a laptop bag. I ducked into a coffee shop 3 blocks away, my hands shaking so badly I could barely hold my wallet. I ordered a coffee I didn't want and sat in the back corner, trying to look normal while my whole world collapsed around me. My watch said 4:23 p.m. Still over an hour until Patricia's contact would reach me. But where? My phone was destroyed. My apartment was compromised. I pulled out my laptop and connected to the coffee shop Wi-Fi. Stupid, probably. But I didn't know what else to do. I created a new email account under a fake name and sent a message to Patricia's personal email, an address listed in one of the files: apartment compromised. At coffee shop on Armitage. What do? I waited. 5 minutes. The coffee shop was filling up with the after-work crowd. Every time the door opened, I jumped. At 4:47 p.m., a response: stay public. Don't go anywhere alone. Blue sedan outside in 15 minutes. License plate JKL 7734. Get in the back seat fast. I watched the clock. Every minute felt like an hour. I kept my eyes on the door, on the windows, on every person who walked past. At 5:02 p.m., a blue sedan pulled up outside. I saw the license plate, JKL 7734. I grabbed my things and walked outside, trying not to run. A man in the driver's seat gestured sharply, "Get in." I pulled open the back door and dove inside. The car was moving before I'd even closed the door. "Seatbelt," the driver said. He was in his 40s, wearing a dark suit. FBI, I guessed. Had to be. A woman in the passenger seat turned around. She had short gray hair and tired eyes. "Sarah Chen?" I nodded, unable to speak. "I'm Special Agent Monica Torres. This is Special Agent James Riley. Patricia Holbrook contacted us. We've been monitoring Meridian Financial for 6 years. Your compliance report this morning gave us everything we needed to arrest Senator Caldwell and 17 members of his network. They came to my apartment," I said, my voice breaking. "They tried to break down my door. We know. We have units there now. They weren't law enforcement, they were private contractors hired by Caldwell's people." Agent Torres handed me a bottle of water. "You did the right thing by running." "I don't understand any of this." Patricia said. "My father." "Your father was David Chen. He worked undercover financial crimes for the Bureau from 1998 to 2003. He was one of the best agents we had." Torres's voice softened. "He was murdered in 2004 while building a case against some of the same people we're arresting today. Patricia was his partner." The car was heading north out of the city. I watched the buildings slide past, feeling disconnected from my own body. I whispered, "Why did Patricia hire me?" "Because you're good at what you do. And because Patricia owed your father a debt. She wanted to protect you, but she also knew you had his instincts. The same eye for patterns, the same attention to detail." Agent Riley glanced at me in the rearview mirror. "She wasn't wrong. You spotted transactions that 3 other analysts missed. What happens now? Now we take you somewhere safe. Tomorrow, Senator Caldwell and his associates will be arrested. Your compliance report is the keystone of the federal case. You'll need to testify before a grand jury." My stomach dropped. "Testify? In court?" "Eventually, yes. But first, we need to keep you alive long enough to make that happen. Subscribe to the channel and let me know in the comments where you're watching from." We drove for another 40 minutes. The safe house was in a suburb I didn't recognize, a plain ranch house on a quiet street. Inside, 2 more federal agents were waiting. The house was furnished but impersonal, like a hotel room. "You'll stay here for the next few days," Torres explained. "We have agents outside 24/7. Don't leave. Don't contact anyone. We'll bring you everything you need." That night, I sat in the safe house's small kitchen and opened the laptop again. I read through every file on the flash drive. All the evidence. All the documents about my father. There were photos of him I'd never seen. Reports he'd written. Commendations. And a video file I almost didn't have the courage to open. It was dated March 2004. 2 months before he died. I clicked play. My father's face filled the screen. He looked tired but determined. "This is Special Agent David Chen, recording deposition for case file 2004 to 8832. If anyone is watching this, it means I didn't make it to trial." He paused, rubbing his face. "I want my daughter, Sarah, to know that everything I did was to make the world safer for her. These people, the ones laundering money, hiding assets, funding violence, they operate in shadows. They count on good people looking away." His eyes seemed to look right at me through the screen. "Sarah, if you're watching this, you're probably older than I can imagine right now. You're probably angry that I kept secrets. But I need you to understand, some fights are worth fighting, even when they're dangerous. Even when they cost everything." The video ended. I sat in the dark kitchen and cried for the father I'd lost and barely known. The next morning, Agent Torres knocked on my door at 6 a.m. "It's happening. Turn on the news." I stumbled to the living room. Every channel was showing the same thing: federal agents in tactical gear leading Senator Richard Caldwell out of his Georgetown home in handcuffs. The crawl at the bottom of the screen read, "Breaking: Senator Caldwell arrested on money laundering, fraud charges. FBI raids Meridian Financial Services headquarters. 17 arrests. Over $340 million in seized assets. A network that had operated for nearly a decade, destroyed in a single coordinated operation. And my compliance report had made it possible." Patricia was on the news too, identified as an FBI asset who had worked undercover at Meridian for 6 years. They showed footage of her being escorted out of the building by federal agents, for her own protection, the reporter explained. I watched it all in a daze. Over the next 3 days, more details emerged. The pharmaceutical companies paying bribes. The defense contractors hiding illegal payments. The offshore accounts. All of it connected to Caldwell, who had been using his Senate position to facilitate the laundering operation. On the fourth day, Patricia came to visit me at the safe house. She looked exhausted but relieved. We sat across from each other in the living room, and for a long moment, neither of us spoke. "You knew my father," I finally said. "I did. David was my partner for 3 years. He was the best agent I ever worked with." Patricia's eyes were bright with unshed tears. "When he died, I made a promise that I would finish what he started. When I saw your application to Meridian 6 years later, I knew it was fate. You had his last name, his eye for detail. I pulled your background check and saw you'd majored in forensic accounting. It was like David had sent you to me." Patricia didn't flinch from the accusation. "But I also protected you. I made sure you only worked on cases I'd vetted. I kept you away from anything that would put you directly in danger. Until you were ready. Until we had enough evidence to move. Those men at my apartment would have killed you. Caldwell doesn't take chances. The moment your report hit the system, he activated his cleanup protocol. But I was faster. I've been preparing for this day for 6 years, Sarah. I wasn't going to let you die like your father did. I wanted to be angry. I wanted to scream at her for manipulating my life. But looking at her exhausted, guilt-ridden face, I couldn't. My mother knew," I said. "About how he really died. The Bureau gave her a choice: accept the settlement and the cover story, or fight it and put you in danger. She chose to protect you. She's carried that secret for 17 years. I need to talk to her." "You will. Soon. Right now, she's in protective custody too. Just a precaution until we're sure we've rounded up everyone in Caldwell's network." 2 weeks later, I testified before a grand jury. I explained how I'd flagged the transactions, how the pattern had emerged from the data. Federal prosecutors walked me through every detail of my compliance report. The courtroom was closed to the public, but I could feel the weight of what was happening. This wasn't just about numbers on a spreadsheet anymore. This was about justice. After my testimony, Agent Torres found me in the hallway. "You did beautifully in there. Your father would be proud." "Will I have to testify at the trial?" "Yes. But by then, most of Caldwell's people will have taken plea deals. You won't be in danger." She smiled. "You unknowingly triggered the investigation that brought down one of the most sophisticated money laundering operations in federal history. Without your evidence, we couldn't prosecute." 3 weeks after my testimony, I finally saw my mother. We met at a secure federal facility, still too dangerous for us to go home, but at least we could see each other. She looked older than I remembered. When she saw me, she started crying. "Sarah, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry I lied to you." We held each other in the middle of that sterile room, both of us crying. All the years of secrets, all the pain, all the questions finally had answers. "He was trying to protect us," my mother said. "Everything he did was to protect us." She pulled back, surprised. "There's a video?" Patricia gave it to me. "He talked about why he did the work. Why it mattered." My mother's face crumpled. I haven't seen his face in so long. I tried to forget. It hurt too much to remember. "I'll get you a copy. You should see it." We spent the next 4 hours talking, really talking, for the first time since I was 12 years old. She told me about my father's real work, about the fear she'd lived with, about the impossible choice she'd made after he died. "I thought if I accepted their story, you'd be safe," she said. "I thought if I took the money and stayed quiet, they'd leave you alone. And they did. Until you walked right into the same world your father died trying to expose. I didn't know. I just thought I was doing my job." That's exactly what your father would have said. Senator Richard Caldwell's trial began 6 months later. I testified on the 3rd day. The courtroom was packed: journalists, federal investigators, lawyers from both sides. Caldwell sat at the defense table in an expensive suit, his face carefully blank. I walked through my compliance report line by line. I explained how the transactions avoided federal reporting requirements. How the pattern indicated deliberate structuring. How the offshore accounts connected back to shell companies registered in Caldwell's name. The defense attorney tried to make me look incompetent. "Isn't it true, Miss Chen, that you've only been a compliance analyst for 2 years? And isn't it true that you have no formal training in criminal investigations?" "I have a master's degree in forensic accounting from Northwestern University. I've completed over 200 hours of continuing education in financial crimes detection. I was trained by one of the best compliance managers in the industry." I looked directly at Patricia, who was sitting in the gallery. "I know what I'm doing." The jury deliberated for 6 hours. They found Caldwell guilty on all counts: money laundering, fraud, conspiracy, and racketeering. He was sentenced to 32 years in federal prison. 17 of his associates took plea deals. The money laundering network was completely dismantled. Meridian Financial Services was shut down, its assets seized by the federal government. 8 months after that Tuesday when Patricia handed me the flash drive, I started a new job. The FBI offered me a position as a forensic financial analyst. I work with Patricia now, officially, not in secret. We investigate financial crimes, track money laundering networks, and build cases that hold up in federal court. My father's work isn't finished. It will never be finished. There will always be people trying to hide money, evade justice, and operate in shadows. But there are also people like Patricia, like Agent Torres, like me, people willing to fight back. I keep my father's video on my laptop. Sometimes, when a case gets hard or I'm scared, I watch it again. Some fights are worth fighting, even when they're dangerous. He was right. Last week, I visited my father's grave for the first time since I learned the truth. The headstone still says beloved husband and father, with the wrong date, the date of the supposed car accident, not the date he was actually murdered. I brought flowers and stood there for a long time. I finished what you started, I told him. Patricia helped me. Mom's okay, we talk every week now. No more secrets. The wind rustled through the trees overhead. I like to think it was his way of answering. I walked back to my car feeling lighter than I had in months. My phone buzzed, a text from Patricia, new case just came in. Wire fraud network. Could use your eyes on this one. I smiled and typed back, on my way. This is my life now. Following the patterns, exposing the truth, finishing the work my father started. It's not the boring compliance job I thought I wanted. It's better. It's dangerous sometimes. It's hard. But it's worth it. If this story moved you, subscribe and tell me in the comments where you're watching from. The lesson I learned that Tuesday when Patricia handed me a flash drive is simple: trust your instincts, even when you don't understand why. When someone who cares about you tells you you're in danger, listen. When you see something wrong, speak up, even if you don't realize how big it is. Small choices save lives. A compliance report I thought was routine helped bring down a senator and dismantle a criminal network. My father's work, hidden for 17 years, finally meant something. I'm not just Sarah Chen, boring compliance analyst, anymore. I'm Sarah Chen, daughter of Special Agent David Chen. And I'm not afraid of the shadows. Because now I know, the people hiding in shadows are afraid of people like me.